Hey folks, welcome back to Ed's Garage at Merton Hyundai. So today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to go over some of the sort of hidden, secret, kind of neat features, the different types of features that you get in a Santa Fe plug-in hybrid luxury trim. Now, the reason I want to do this video is because the Santa Fe has been very popular. I got a lot of questions on it, lots of views on my last review video, which, by the way, if you haven't seen yet, please check the description. There will be a link in the description below. But anyway, so I want to talk about the little features on this vehicle that a lot of people don't know about, and a lot of people are curious about. Why buy a Santa Fe over something like a Toyota Prius or Toyota hybrid RAV4 or a Mitsubishi Outlander or something like that? So, sorry about the fact that it's kind of dirty. Unfortunately, our water is yet again frozen and we can't clean it. But anyway, so we're going to go over some of the things. I'm going to start kind of at the front of the vehicle, work around to the back, and then go inside. But I'm not going to go over everything like I usually do in my review videos. I'm going to go over the special things. So again, if you haven't seen the other review, please check it out in the link below. All right, so let's start on the front. All right, and starting at the front, look at these cool daytime running lights. Now, this is a super unique profile. When you see the whole front end of the vehicle, it's very different from anything else there out on the market because of these, you know, really cool sort of T-shaped LED daytime running lights. And then you do also have LED high beams and regular headlights as well. But next to that, you've got the air curtain pass-through, which actually adds a little bit of style there to the front, and this big, beautiful, bold, cascading grille. So the front end styling is quite unique, and you can imagine, of course, that when you're driving behind somebody else at night, they're looking in their rearview mirror and seeing that lighting profile, and they're wondering what that vehicle is that you're driving, because it's so different. If you compare this to other vehicles in the industry and the market, a lot of them kind of look the same in the front. All right, next I want to talk about under the hood. And one of the cool features about the hood on the Santa Fe is it does hold itself up. So not everybody does that, but that's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. But under here specifically, if you're looking at a vehicle, look at how well they actually pin the insulation to the bottom of the hood. Some companies do it well and clean and neat, and some companies don't. And as you can see, Hyundai does a really nice job keeping that in place. Furthermore, under the hood, you can see here we've got this sort of plastic covering. Again, if you're comparing to other vehicles, look at how well they, you know, tie in everything underneath the hood. You've got really good, high quality weather guards here. This is kind of a rubberized material. You've got things covered off, insulated as well. You can see the insulation over the wheel well right here, and insulation on the firewall back there. Now, I know that seems pretty minor and obvious, but when you compare it to other vehicles in the industry, you'll start to see little inconsistencies, and that's what I wanted to point out. Hyundai is ridiculously meticulous at trying to improve little things like that. So when you're car shopping, please do me a favor and look at those little things and see what I'm talking about. All right, so when looking at hybrid drivetrains, obviously there's going to be some similarities with other vehicles, with other models. Obviously you've got an engine, an electric motor attached to it, and some sort of battery to power the electric motor. Well, what's different about Hyundai is that the transmission that's connected to that system, so you got your engine, your motor, and your transmission, is a regular 6-speed automatic transmission. It's actually down there underneath all of this high voltage wiring. And the reason that that's important to know is because if you're on the highway, you're doing higher speeds, or if you're going up a hill or needing to accelerate quickly, if you have a CVT transmission, what that means is you're going to rev up to a really high RPM. It's going to be quite noisy. It's going to drone inside the cabin, and you're going to hear that. CVT transmissions are inherently very fuel efficient, but with a plug-in hybrid or even just a regular hybrid, the electric motor can actually fill the gaps between gear shifts anyway, so it's less important to have a CVT or a dual clutch transmission in a hybrid as a lot of people think it is. Now this one is, like I said, just a regular automatic, so that's pretty cool. The other thing I want to point out is that, have you ever heard of a turbocharged hybrid vehicle? That's right, this is a turbo. You can see it, the turbo is actually underneath this shroud down here. You can see a little the back end of it right over here. And of course, that gives you extra power without having to go to a larger motor, or larger engine, sorry. So this one actually has a combined 260 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque, between that electric motor and the gas engine. Electric motor, for that matter, is sandwiched in between the gas engine and the transmission, which is underneath all here. It's kind of in the middle down here, and it's a 66 kilowatt motor, 66.9 kilowatt motor, and then the battery driving it is a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery. So another first in the auto industry is a technology called CVVD, continuously variable valve duration. And Hyundai has actually implemented that into this vehicle as well. You have this SmartStream engine here. So the SmartStream engine allows for dual injection, but also continuously variable valve duration. Dual injection allows you to have multi-port injection as well as gas direct injection for better fuel efficiency and a cleaner engine overall. But the continually variable valve duration technology allows the valves to stay open for longer or shorter times depending on whether or not you need lower compression, higher compression, better fuel efficiency, or more power. All of that's wrapped up into this tight little 1.6 liter package and makes for a very fuel efficient, very decently sized SUV. All right, let's move on to the back of the vehicle. All right, another way Hyundai does things a little bit differently is with the tailgate. Now this of course does have a power tailgate, which is pretty common in the industry now. Almost every company has a power tailgate of some sort. Some companies do things a little bit differently when it comes to the hands-free though. So Hyundai does a thing whereby you don't actually need your hands, you don't need your feet, you don't need to do a dance. You just need to stand there patiently. And here's how it works. All you got to do is just walk up to the back of the vehicle and you'll hear the beeping, you'll see the flashing lights, and then the tailgate will open up. Now the reason that's important is because you don't actually have to stand on one foot in order to make the tailgate open up. You just have to stand there patiently. If you don't want it to open, you simply continue on, pass by the vehicle, or take a step back. All right, so what sort of hidden little features and Easter eggs can we find in the back of the Santa Fe? Well, for one, of course, this is a plug-in hybrid, and this is the charging package right here, the charging case. Now, we could have just, Hyundai could have just made a charging case that you put in there and then ends up sliding around when you go around corners. But again, they're always thinking and trying to improve. So you can see they've got little Velcro strips on the back here so that when it goes down, it's now Velcroed into place and it's not going to slide around. Just smart thinking. What else back here is interesting? Well, let me show you. You've got this underfloor storage. Now Hyundai could of course have just put the spare tire under here, and I will point out that even though this is a hybrid, it still has a spare tire. But what they did was they actually hung it underneath the vehicle. There it is right there. But what that does is it gives you all this extra space. So if you're comparing this to the next, probably most popular plug-in hybrids out there, the Mitsubishi Outlander and Toyota RAV4 Prime, this has significantly more cargo space in the back. As a matter of fact, the cargo space on this, even though it's a plug-in hybrid, is better than most mid-size SUVs to begin with. It's got over 1,000 liters of space with the seats up, over 2,000 liters of space with the seats down. And that's all made possible, or partly made possible, in the fact that they put the tire underneath. The battery is actually housed underneath the rear seat, but the rear seats still do something pretty cool, which I'm going to show you in a moment as well. All right, now obviously if I wanted to put these seats down, like many other companies now, there are some buttons here. Some have little pull tabs that you pull on, but I can push these buttons to fold those seats down. It's a 60-40 split. But what I actually want to show you is on the side. You'll see what happens to the rear bench seat as I fold it down. So look at the rear bench, and it actually kind of kneels down and gets out of the way so that when the back seat's down, it's nice and flat. So, I mean, it's not a perfectly flat back seat, but it's pretty darn close. One of the best in the industry, and of course it lines up with the floor. So again, always thinking, trying to improve. That's how they've done that. The other thing that a lot of other car companies don't do is actually lock in the seat back. So you can see this is now stuck. You actually have to release it first in order to actually pull it back up. Another thing a lot of companies don't do is give you multiple recline positions. This one has 13 different positions that you can recline this back bench in. As you can see, it leans back quite far, so there's a nice comfortable place to be when you're riding in the back. Another nice touch for rear passengers back here is the fact that the outboard seats are heated. So there's a button like this on both of the rear doors and 2 levels of heated seat in the back seats. That's not super common. Not every company does that. As a matter of fact, most don't. So another nice little hidden feature. As well, there's also a retractable sunshade back here. Really nice, luxurious feature. And the largest in class panoramic sunroof. Check that out. It is huge. Now, the other thing to mention, again, Hyundai trying to make things better for its drivers and occupants of the vehicle. The back of the seats are actually solid. Now, again, if you're searching for cars, if you're looking for a plug-in hybrid SUV, check to see if that's the case. You want to have this nice and solid so any knees that are going into your into the back of the seat aren't transferring that energy into the person sitting there. And of course, the seat backs also have pockets. And lots of legroom. As a matter of fact, for legroom and headroom, again, comparing to the Toyota RAV4 Prime and the Mitsubishi Outlander, this actually has better legroom in the front, better legroom in the back, better headroom in the front, better headroom in the back, better cargo space, better hip room all around as well. So this is definitely the largest of those three options if you're comparing this to the RAV4 Prime and the Mitsubishi Outlander. Before I move too far away from it, I'd like to show you the charging port real quick. The only neat little thing about the charging port here is that it is lockable, so when it is charging, you can set the car up so that it locks that cable so nobody can come and unplug it. All right, we're moving over to the front of the vehicle now, the front on the inside. But before I jump in, I want to point out a couple features. Again, Hyundai always trying to think and make things a little bit better and trying to improve. And some other vehicles have this as well. This is not unique to Hyundai, but it's important to note you actually have the door sill comes all the way to the bottom of the rocker panel. So this actually stays nice and clean. You can see this, just this tiny little edge has got a little bit of mud splatter on it, but this is actually a door seal. So this stays nice and clean. So you're not gonna get your pants dirty on that. The other thing on the door to show you is this little button right here. So every car has child locks and safety locks on the windows and whatnot. It's all controlled with one button here, so you can actually lock the rear doors as well as the rear windows all from one button. You don't have to hit the window lock here and then do the little Jimmy lock in the back. It's all one button, which is kind of nice. Now, speaking of children, another first that came out, and Hyundai was, thinking of their technology and how to improve it and how to use it for multiple things. The blind spot monitoring system actually picks up cars that are about to pass by when you parallel park. So it actually keeps those doors locked if it detects a car about to pass you after you've parallel parked. And that prevents kids from swinging the doors open into traffic when there's a car coming. Cool safety feature. Also on the inside, there's an ultrasonic sensor that detects the presence of children and pets, so that if you're, out of the vehicle for more than a couple of minutes, it'll actually set the alarm off and send a note to your phone, a notification to your phone reminding you that, hey, your dog's in the car getting really hot, or your child's in the car about to, So that's pretty cool technology. They've done a really nice job with that. And it's an ultrasonic sensor mounted to the top of the ceiling there, so it can pick up any movement in any of the seats. Pretty neat tech. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is, a lot of people don't realize this, but Hyundai is the only company that makes their own steel. And I've brought this up in my other videos as well, but why that's important is because we can use a ton of advanced high-strength steel construction. This vehicle has nearly 70% advanced high-strength steel construction in the overall superstructure of the vehicle. And what's really cool about it is they actually came up with new technologies, for instance, the hot stamping technology, where they could utilize advanced high-strength steel in B-pillars here to protect from side impact damage. So pretty cool technology and great for safety. But also in the construction of the vehicle, I want to show you another thing to look for on other vehicles when you're comparing. Look at the inside of the door and follow the steel right from here, okay, all the way around the edge, especially this corner here, and then down past here. You'll notice this is all one piece. There's no weld points. So if you're comparing this to other vehicles in the market, look for a welded joint right here, and right down here. You'll notice that on most Hyundai vehicles, you will not see that. Some of our lower priced vehicles, you do see welded joints, but generally the things like the Tucsons, the Palisades, the Santa Fe's, even some of the newer lower priced vehicles, all stamped steel, one piece, pretty cool. Again, a little bit safer, especially in a side impact. Now, lastly, before I get in, just want to talk about the lumbar support and the passenger seat. So quickly with the lumbar support, it's not just in and out, it's up and down as well. And again, that's not super common. And in regard to the passenger seat, again, if you're comparing this to other vehicles in the market, check to see if they have height adjustment. And you can see right here, if I pull on the back half of this button, it's actually raising the seat. And if I pull the front half of the button, it's tilting the seat up and down. So not only does it have height adjustment, it also has tilt adjustment. Again, not super common. So check that out when you're comparing, when you're cross-shopping. All right, I'm inside of this beautiful vehicle now, and one quick thing in regard to the remote start. Again, very uncommon for companies to do this, and I think Hyundai is pretty much the first company to create this sort of new tech. When you remote start the vehicle with the key fob or with BlueLink from your cell phone, and then you get into the vehicle, you don't then need to start the vehicle again. Now, I don't mean start the engine, I mean just bring the electronics to life. Because every car company, you know, they have remote start. When you get in, the car is still running just fine. You put the key in, you turn it, or you press the start button, and away you go. But this one, you don't have to do that. Well, any Hyundai that has remote start. Basically, you just get in, put your foot on the brake, and away you go. All right, cool little feature in regard to the push-button transmission. There seems to be a lot of contention around electronically controlled transmissions. So the ones that you can put into gear by simply pressing buttons, rotating a knob, or something like that. So the reason that they actually make a lot of sense is because they clear up space in the console. They're a little bit safer when implemented correctly. And as a matter of fact, they tend to break down less, believe it or not, because there's actually less moving parts. There's no linkage going from the shifter all the way down to the transmission, etc. So here's what I mean by more space, more convenient. So this actually has a huge storage compartment underneath because there's no shift linkage going from these buttons through here down to the transmission. As for safety, I want to point out, right now we're in drive, okay? And what's really cool is that if I let go of the brake right now, obviously I'm going to move, yeah? But if I take off my seatbelt and I open the door, it immediately switches to park. Now, of course, I didn't hit the button. It just did that on its own. So now when I let go of the brake, we're not moving, okay? So it can quickly, automatically put the vehicle into park, whether I shut the car off or if I just open the door, because it knows I'm about to jump out. That's something you can't do with physical shift linkage and a shift stick. So there's really nothing wrong with that. Now, not every company does it exactly the same way, but I think Hyundai's done a great job implementing that technology as well. All right, moving on to another feature in the center console, and that's the wireless charger. So while every company now seems to have wireless charging pads for their phones, Hyundai's done something a little bit different. Again, always thinking, always improving. And that is, they've put this wireless charging sort of slot right here for your phone. Now you put your phone right into here, and you can see there's these little, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, these little dots here. Those are actually little vent holes. Down at the bottom, there's actually a little clasp. You can see, as I push it down, what it does is it forces the phone up against that side so that you get a proper connection between the phone and the edge here so that this can cool it down. There's actually a ventilated system there, and it can charge at 40 watts. This is the quickest charger in the industry, and it just uses the QI standard, or the Qi standard, Qi wireless standard for charging. All right, a couple other nice little features to mention. We do have obviously heated, but also ventilated seats and a heated steering wheel, but I want to talk about this knob right here. Now, again, every car company does their own sort of all-wheel drive options. Hyundai's all-wheel drive is designed and engineered right here in Canada by a company called Magna International. And what they've done is they've given us a very, very cool system. It's called H-Track. And H-Track uses over 50 different sensors to monitor the front and rear wheels and the pitch and yaw of the vehicle, etc., to kind of give it an idea of what the terrain that you're going over is like. Now, obviously, we've got Eco, Sport, and Smart. Those are our regular drive controls. The other side here is what I really want to talk about, though, the snow, mud, and sand. Now, with this predictive all-wheel drive system, even in the Eco, Sport, and Smart, it's capable of transferring power to all four wheels in some way or another. But in the snow, mud, and sand modes, basically snow mode, what it does is it locks a center differential and it changes the traction control to make it a little bit more aggressive. It also reduces your startup speed. The mud mode does similar things, but it also enables the hill descent assist control, and it also locks the center differential. The sand mode, if I remember correctly, doesn't lock the center differential, but it varies power to the rear wheels as necessary as you're moving. So all of these control things like the traction, the stability, as well as the clutch pack in the transfer case to vary the degree of power going to the rear wheels. It's a really, really spectacular system. Moving up to the climate control, the only couple of things I want to talk about, again, this is neat little Hyundai features for the Santa Fe plug-in hybrid. So one is this automatic climate control. It's dual zone, of course. You can see the rocker switches on both sides here for the temperatures. There's the one for the passenger there, but the auto actually has 3 levels. So in level 3, it's more aggressive, level 2, and level 1, less so. You can also put it on driver only to completely shut off the passenger side. The other cool thing with this system is, so you can, right here you can see the recirculation. When you pull the windshield washer fluid, it actually recirculates the air for you, and that prevents a lot of the smell from the windshield washer fluid from coming into the vehicle. It doesn't actually light that light up. It used to on our older models, but the option is actually in the setup under vehicle, and then climate. You can see here, recirculate air, activate upon washer fluid use. We've also got automatic ventilation to dehumidify when it detects that the cabin is humid, and then it's got auto defrost. Those two last functions are pretty common. The auto recirc is actually very rare. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen that in any other vehicle. The quick thing I wanted to point out is Hyundai's actually really cool with this headlight thing. So on the left here, you can see we've got, on the left stock, we've got the auto for automatic headlights, and then you got your headlights on all the time. Now, with the headlights on all the time, you don't actually need to turn them off. When you shut the car off and lock the doors and everything, they all turn off anyway. So you can leave it in headlights on all the time, so that way you have taillights in the back as well. In reality, what I actually wish is that with the automatic setting, you would just have daytime running lights in the back. But for whatever reason, I don't think any company's done that other than maybe, I think, GM. But yeah, either way, you can't leave the headlights on and kill the battery. Okay, so there's only one little hidden feature in the instrument cluster that I want to show you. Now, you're probably already aware, if you've seen my other video, that you can change the cluster display by just rotating the drive mode knob. You'll notice it actually gives you 3 different displays here. But the cool little hidden feature I wanted to show you is actually in the user settings. So if I use this button here to scroll over to the user settings, I've actually passed it, and then I go down to cluster, I can actually change it, theme selection, I can unlink it to the drive mode, and then I can just choose which one I want. So I don't actually have to have the drive mode change the theme. And as a matter of fact, here's the hidden one, cube. So now we have a digital kilometers per hour on the left and a digital tachometer on the right. So that's the little hidden thing I just wanted to quickly show you there. All right, so as far as the center screen goes here, one thing to note is it is a non-polarized screen. So if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, you'll be able to see this screen just fine. You don't have to worry about, you know, weird black lines showing up or anything like that in the screen. The other thing is with these touch sensitive buttons, they're really not that difficult to use, and they're spread out enough that, you know, it's pretty easy to press them. This one here, by the way, is a customizable button, so you can actually choose what you want that one to do. So that's a cool little feature that they've added in. But what I wanted to show you here was the plug-in hybrid vehicle screen. So if we tap on that and bring that up, you can see we've got the energy information. I can actually tap that and open it up, and it gives you different information about the range for the gasoline and electric, how much range there is on just electric, how much range there is just in gasoline, what the battery's at, you know, how long it's going to take to charge, you know, using the AC station. So that's a level 2 station, or the one that comes with it, that's the level 1. So with a dead battery, basically it's going to take about 10 hours right now. It's quite cold out. It's below freezing, so it is going to take longer than usual. And then we also have under the menu here, you can actually switch over to a user manual. You'll see that in a lot of the different screens. So if you ever see menu, you know, check that, because it gives you the option to see a user manual real quick. Under charge management, so you can see our next departure time, we can actually change that, and that way we can make sure that the car charges at specific times. So if I go into that, so we set our time, so a departure time, let's say, you know, we're going to leave for work every morning at 7 a.m. and then Monday through Friday. Okay. Yes. All right, so there's our departure time. Back out of there, and you can see now next departure 24 hours, and then I can actually set the charging schedule as well, and then the charging current I can change here as well. So if you're wondering where to change the charging current, here it is. The reason you might want to do this is if you're blowing breakers at home. So if the car is just pulling too much power for that particular circuit, you can reduce the amount of charge that it takes. Or the amount of time it takes to charge will increase, of course, but it reduces how much energy it draws. So the top one maximum is, I believe, 12 amps, and then you've got 9 amps and 6 amps, all on, of course, 120 or 220 if you're using level 2. Okay, a couple other things in this screen. If I go into energy flow, you can see, where energy is coming from and going to. So anytime the engine's running, it is going to be using the electric motor to charge the battery, which is kind of cool. Now, to answer your question, no, this will not give you electric only range back. This is only for the hybrid drive system. The electric range is only added by plugging the vehicle in. If I go into eco driving, and to answer the question as to why that is, it's because it actually makes more sense to just drive the vehicle as hybrid than it does to use the gas engine to put energy back into the battery and then get that back as an electric drive. It's just less efficient. So before you ask or before you say that that's dumb or whatever, don't worry, Hyundai's thought of that already. It actually doesn't make sense to do so. So use the vehicle as a regular hybrid when the electric range is depleted, and then plug it in again when you're able to. All right, now don't worry about the average liters per 100K. That's obviously inaccurate just because the vehicle's been doing a lot of standing and not driving. The last client that I sold one of these vehicles to, he said that he basically, since he bought it, he's been driving for about 6 months. His day-to-day drives on average are about 40 kilometers. He hasn't put gas into it yet. So he's still on the same tank of fuel in 6 months, and he drives basically every day. He drives 5 days a week to work and back, and the odd other trips. So he said he's got about a quarter tank left, and he's looking forward to his first fuel up so that he can calculate his fuel mileage. But it should be less than 1 liter per 100 kilometers. So these things are awesome for that. Obviously, for that function. If your day-to-day drives are more than 40 or 50 kilometers, obviously your mileage is going to vary, and it's going to be worse than that. But if your day-to-day drives are shorter, then this can be a real good vehicle to use for that, because most of your driving, of course, will be on electricity. All right, the other thing I wanted to show you in here real quick is under all menus, we can go swipe over one screen, and you can see we've got quiet mode. So quiet mode, as you can see, when quiet mode is selected, radio and media is played only on the front seats, from the front speakers rather, and all the volume levels will be reduced to level 7. So if you do have a child sleeping in the back, you can hit that, and of course that'll make the vehicle a little quieter. All right, as far as other hidden features go, I just want to show you real quick. This is kind of a fun demo. The cover, as well as the glass, both have anti-pinch. So the sunroof glass does that, the sunroof cover does that, all of the windows do that as well. Speaking of the windows, all the front windows are also laminated. So these front windows here are acoustically laminated for soundproofing, as well as the front windshield, making this vehicle very, very quiet. So you saw all that insulation in the front, one spot I actually forgot to mention was the insulation in the actual fenders. Check this out. You can see right here, there's insulation. So that is more soundproofing. So not only do you have the soundproof, the laminated, acoustically laminated windshield, windows, as well as the fender sound deadening, the sound deadening under the carpet, the sound deadening on the firewall, under the hood, etc., etc., etc. This vehicle is very, very quiet and very luxurious to drive, especially for the price point when you compare it to higher priced models from companies like Acura and Lexus and stuff. All right, cool little feature here. If I put the vehicle into reverse, watch what happens to the side mirrors. They actually point down. There's my manager there behind the window. And then, of course, when I put it back into park, they go back up. Now, if you don't like that, you can disable that simply by putting the mirror switch in the middle, just like that. And speaking of putting it into reverse, let's have a look at this backup camera. So a nice clear image, of course, very high resolution camera, good resolution screen as well, dynamic steering lines. But the little hidden feature in here is with this button. So if I press that button and hit the one next to it, it gives me a top-down view, because of course this vehicle can tow. You can see the bumper right along the bottom here. So if you have the hitch sticking out, you'll be able to tow with this vehicle as well. All right, well, I'm sure I'm missing a few things, but I'm going to stop the video there. I didn't want this one to be too long. Just wanted to go over some of the lesser known features on the Santa Fe. Of course, this vehicle has, great warranty, especially in the United States. I'm in Canada, of course, our warranty is not as good as down there, but comparatively speaking, it's a 5-year, 100,000K warranty in Canada that covers almost everything on the vehicle, but 8 years and 160,000K on the electric portion of the drivetrain. So the electric motor, the battery, the controller and stuff like that for that as well. You also get 3 years of free BlueLink when you sign up right away when you buy the vehicle. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. If it helped you at all, please comment below, subscribe, hit the bell icon for future notifications on new videos, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.